All right, what's up, my friends? Welcome. Complete set review. Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. Magic's new crossover set. It's a big one. Legal and modern, historic, alchemy, I guess. And limited commander, of course. And we're going to roll cards. We're going to out our awards as usual. We already did white, blue, black, and red, as well as an explanation of how the ring tempts you works. That's the very, very first pretty video. It's a prologue. Check it out on YouTube if you missed it. And I want to remind you, of course, always, Command Fest Orlando. I'm going to be there in a few days. You should be too. It's this weekend. It's the pre-release for Lord of the Rings. I'll be there doing meet and greets, playing commander games with, content creator commander games, VIP drafts. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really, really cool. Get your tickets today. Command Fest Orlando. Hope to see you there. Should be great. Also got 10 new brews, Bronze Mythic, everything that's coming for Lord of the Rings as well. And let's rock and roll. Let's get into green here and do our thing. I want to remind you also to hit that like button, of course, as always. Please, it helps out your content creators so much. If you enjoy watching content, it does so much for your content creators. Take a second when you hit the play button, hit the like button too. My YouTube's been doing great in the last month, thanks to your fine folks doing that for me, and I pretty appreciate it. And just keep it up, right? You're awesome. First card is Bag End Porter. We've got a 4-mana 4/4 dwarf. Where Bag End Porter attacks, it gets +X on the turn. Rex the number of legendary creatures you control. This is a fine 4-drop. I mean 3-drop, 4-drop. It's obviously not amazing, but it's obviously not bad either. A 4/4 is fine. You're likely to have at least 1 or 2 legends thanks to the ring tempting you, as well as there being a bunch of legends everywhere. So 5/5, maybe a 6/6. Not a card you're always going to play or should take high, but it's a fine card. Fine limited card, fine 4-drop. Nothing else too exciting about that one. We got Old Jolly Ho Ho Do Tom Bombadil. Ho hey doll, merry doll, ring a dillo doll, do dong dillo, whatever. Tom Bombadil singing and dancing, having a great time. For all you folks that did watch the movies and did not read the books, those book nerds are coming after you. Tell you all about Tom Bombadil. For the record, I think it was a great idea not to put Tom in the movies, personally, but sure. So we got 2 mana for an instant. Creature you control gets +1/+1 and gets hexproof till end of turn. The ring tempts you. Unfortunately, there are a few problems here. One, it's not giving a counter like a lot of the cards like this do. And 2, it's not giving protection either. So in the last set, we had +1/+1 counter and protection in white. That card was actually very, very good. This one is a non-permanent +1/+1 and only hexproof. So the trick itself is not great. Then it has the ring tempts you on it. Again, more on that. I already went over it all. Go watch it on YouTube. Explain it. Look it up. Whatever. The problems here are twofold. One is that the trick isn't very good. And 2 is the ring has no freaking effect on Tom Bombadil. The ring's a joke. Tom Bombadil don't care about that. He puts the ring on, nothing happens. Picks it up, doesn't even care. Why would the ring tempt me? Or Tom or anyone? I don't understand. I'm done. This card, screw this card. Get out of here.
Get off my plane.
Brandywine Farmer. 3 mana for a 1/1. Easy to make 2, or makes a, when ETBs or dies make a food. Yeah. A 1/1 for 3 is pretty bad. Even, it makes 2 foods. This card's kind of tough. I think this card probably plays best if you're playing like green-black and you want some sacrificey stuff. You can like sacrifice the farmer for value, get a few foods, but this card just seems a little too low on rate for me to be excited about it. Yeah, definitely a draft card, if that. Celeborn the Wise. Again, the legendary uncommons are built for limited. 4 mana for a 3/3. Whenever you tackle one or more elves, scry 1. Whenever you scry, Celeborn the Wise gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each card looked at while scrying this way. So, it's a 3/3. Attacks as a 4/4. And triggers scries over and over again, which is important because the blue-green elf mechanic is all about scrying and triggers for that. So, just a fine draft card. Repeatable source of scrying, kind of cool. Yeah, just a fine draft card. Nothing crazy here. Sizing-wise, this is not great, but fine draft card. Chance Met Elves. 3 mana for a 3/2. Whenever you scry, put a counter on this only once a turn. A fine 3-drop for limited. Again, scrying, major mechanic. If it gets up to like a 4/3 or a 5/4, it's pretty good. But the first casting, you might need to block with it as a 3/2, which also happens. But it's a fine draft card, I think. It's just a fine card for your elf scry deck. Delighted Halfling. Best in show, folks. Delighted Halfling is excellent. This card is super good. 1 green for a 1/2, not a 1/1, a 1/2. Eat that, Ren and 6. Taps for a colorless or taps for 1 mana of any color, only for legendary spells, and they can't be countered either. So, how about turn 2 Teferi Time Raveler uncounterable? How about turn 2 Narset uncounterable? How about turn 2 whatever? You know, whatever is Lelia modern? No, right? Whatever card you're thinking of. There's a lot of great legends these days. There's more always coming. And obviously, it's also just a colorless mana dork as well. If it only had the add 1 mana of any color for legends text, I wouldn't be that excited about it. But the fact that it can also just cast your spells too is phenomenal. This card is just super, super great. Excellent card. Even more impactful for Historic, because Historic has, obviously a much more card pool and so on and so forth. And Historic doesn't have Ignoble Hierarch, Noble Hierarch, Birds of Paradise, etc., too. So Delighted Halfling's phenomenal. This card's excellent. It's going to see a ton of play in Modern, ton of play in Historic, ton of play in Commander, ton of play in everything. One of the better cards in the set. It's great in Limited, obviously, too. Just great. It's just a great card all around. That's all I got. I've sung the praises of Delighted Halfling, and I think that them naming it a somewhat generic name shows that, just like Orcish Bowmasters, this is a card they're probably going to print again at some point because they know it's going to be very good in Modern. So, card's great. The Dunedain Rangers. 4 mana for a 4/4. Landfall. When a land ETB is under your control, if you don't control a ring bearer, the ring tempts you. So, little action on a 4/4. Just okay, honestly. Again, there's a lot of 4/4s for 4 in this set. It's not a very good stat line anymore. Used to be really good, but these days in modern day Limited, just not that exciting. But the effects here are pretty good. Obviously, it gets a ring bearer and so on and so forth. So, card's fine. Okay, draft card. Elven Chorus. We have a 4 mana enchantment rare. You may look at the top card of the library at any time. You may cast creature cards on top of your library. And creatures you control have tapped at 1 mana of any color. So we have this is a mixture of Crypto with Right and sort of like a Augur of Autumn kind of effect. Pretty powerful card, but it is very expensive up front. And I struggle to think a little bit about what deck in Constructed would want this. Like an elf deck or whatever. Like, it's so much mana up front. Definitely a commander card, obviously. But all in all, I think this card's a little bit weak. In Limited, if you're playing a bunch of creatures, I think this card's probably fine. But, yeah, very cool with Tyvar, giving your things haste, which is nice as well. It's funny. It's actually might be a cool Goblin card. Opposing Goblins. Like, with a War Chief in play, you give all your things haste, so they have tap for mana, which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I don't know. I see a little play. 4 is a lot, though. 4 is definitely a lot. Elven Farsight.
It's a trap!
They keep trying to put Ponder in green, and it keeps not really working. 1 green for a sorcery, scry 3. Then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, draw a card. If you ever miss with this card, you want to smash your head into a wall.
You look terrible.
Can't ever miss. And this card, even if you're playing, 35 creatures, has a chance to miss. And that is just a non-starter. You just can't have your card do nothing. And then also you're in this awkward spot where it's a non-self-perpetuating card, in that it's a card that wants you to play a lot of creatures, but is not a creature in and of itself. We see this a lot with the prowess cards, right? Where we have a prowess creature. We want to play enough threats, but they're not spells. So the more threats I play, the worse they all get, and so on and so forth. In Limited, obviously, this card's fun. In Limited, obviously, you're scrying for value and so on and so forth. But this card, again, looks sort of pondery, sort of Oathenicity. This card, I think, is unplayable in Constructed. If it was Surveil 3, maybe. But in Constructed, I think this is not good. Yeah, pretty rough. Pretty rough card. Trap card. I think people see cards like this and they want to see Ponder, but it is not there. Enraged Huron. 5 mana for a 4/5 trample. Tree Folk. When it ETBs, the ring tempts you. Why is the ring tempting the Tree Folk thingy? I don't really, I don't know. Obviously, it's a fine draft common. A 4/5 for trample for 5 is not great. This is basically filler. You know, if you play it, you're not the saddest person of all time, but it's pretty bad. Entish Restoration. This is a nice one. 3 mana for a instant. Sacrifice a land. Search the library up to 2 basic land cards. Put on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. If you control a creature power 4 or greater, instead search the library for 3 basic lands. Put on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So basically a Harrow. So good mana fixture for limited. Not better than Harrow in constructed because the lands come in tapped. Although there's no counter spell blowouts, but yeah, just Harrow. Mostly a limited card just for fixing, which is kind of cool. So Ents Fury, 2 mana for a sorcery. Put a counter on a creature you control if its power is 4 or greater. Then the creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn and fights a creature you don't control. This is your average fight spell, unlimited. Nothing too fancy here. Good limited card. You get the idea. Seen it before a million times. The Fall of Gil-galad. The Elven Prince, King, something. 2 mana for a Saga. Scry 2. Then put 2 +1/+1 counters on target you control. And then until end of turn, target you control gains. When this creature dies, draw 2 cards, and then it fights a creature. This is a pretty good card for limited. Obviously, for constructed, it's the non-starter. But in limited, you get to scry a little bit, you get to pump a creature up a little bit, you get to fight, draw some cards maybe. So, great limited card. Don't play it on turn 2, but great limited card. Otherwise, not much else, but cool art. Fangorn, Tree Shepherd, Old Treebeard. Green, 4. 7 mana for a 4/10.
Oh my god, Becky.
Tree Folk you control have vigilance. Whenever one or more Tree Folk you control attack, add twice that much green, and you don't lose green mana as steps and phases end. This is a commander card and nothing more. I wouldn't play this card in anything but commander. 7 mana is a lot for not too much payoff here. So, sorry, Treebeard. Not too about it. Galadrim Bow. Boom. Bombin Common. We've seen a lot of cards like this before. They're almost always enchantments. Okay. So we have 3 mana for a equipment flash. When it ETBs, it auto attaches. The creature untaps. It gets +1/+2 and has reach. So as an aura, this card is not good. As an equipment that only equips for 2, this card's pretty sweet. So once your creature dies, you just have this equipment laying around. +1/+2 is a very significant buff, and then reach is also a little extra bonus too. I would want a ton of this card, but I think this card's a blowout. Where if you get blown out by this card, it's pretty freaking bad, and then it hangs around, does more stuff, which is really cool. So I think this is a pretty cool card. Is it the best green common? I don't think so. But I think it's a card that's going to define a lot of the combat in the format for green decks, which is pretty important, and define some of the late game also as far as like moving the set around and stuff too. So yeah, card seems pretty sweet. You could also like put it on a guy, attack, and then move it over to a different guy and block a flyer, and then so on and so forth. It's pretty cool too. So things like this card's sweet. Gonna be a pain for flyer decks in the format, and I think you gotta be careful when you attack into this card or try and block this card because this card is nice. Bombin Common. Galadrim Bow. Galadrim Guide. 4 mana for a 3/4. ETB Scry 2. There are so many freaking 4-drops in this set. So many. Look at Gimli. Poor Gimli. Where am I going? I'm Gimli. I'm Gimli. So we got 3/4 for 4 Scry 2. I mean, this is just like a super filler limited card. You know, if you're doing the whole Scry thing, sure, but it's pretty bad overall. Generous Ent. This card is very close to winning Best in Show, honestly, which might sound kind of crazy, but Generous Ent is a 6 mana 5/7 reach. It is the land cycler for green in this set. So once again, 1 mana land cycling is pretty insane, honestly. 5/7 reach, EDB makes a food. In limited, this card's great. Obviously, this is probably one of the better land cyclers, and it's just so good at 1 mana. However, the real thing with this card is Living End in Modern. Forest cycling is phenomenal, both because you will find your third land for your Cascade spell, as well as find a basic forest against Blood Moon, which is excellent. And then a 5/7 is huge for Living End. And then it also makes a food, so a little bit of life gain also. This is a 4 of a Living End for sure. Not even close. You know, there aren't many cards you can say in this entire set there'll be slam dunk 4-ofs into a deck. But this is one of them for Living End for sure. And also a great draft card. Beyond Living End and drafts, sure, not going to see play otherwise. But yeah, can find any forest, can find a Triome, can find a dual land, or find basic forest, which is great. Card's really, really good. Living Enders, look out. Gift of Strands. 4 mana for a enchantment aura flash enchant creature. When ETB scries 2 and +3/+3. It's funny how this card is pretty similar to the bow, although not being an equipment is a pretty big loss. This card is playable. I think this might even be more of a sideboard card if your opponent's like not playing auto removal or they're playing like red and green, and sizing up is pretty important. But getting blown out kind of sucks here, honestly. So it's just kind of clunky. It's playable if you need top end, but honestly probably worse than the bow, I would think. But yeah. Glorfindel, Dauntless Rescuer. They're meant for a 3/2. Whenever you scry, choose one, and the Rescuer gets +1/+1 on the turn. Must be blocked or can't be blocked. Obviously, just a good draft card for the scry archetype. Simple as that. Last March of the Ents. 8 mana sorcery. Mythic, can't be countered. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness of creatures you control. Then put any number of creature cards from your hand on the battlefield. Obviously, this is an insanely powerful effect. It is, can't be countered. Can draw a bunch of cards and put a bunch of things into play. Emrakul, etc., etc. Very, very powerful. Could maybe spark a little mono green devotion in Modern, perhaps. But probably not good enough. Maybe in Historic also. But probably a little more of a commander card. But definitely powerful. For limited, I guess, no. 8 mana is too much limited. But, yeah, commander, Historic, maybe Modern, for sure. Last March of the Ents. To Isengard with doom we come. Legolas, Master Archer. Green 1 for a 1/4 reach, which sounds kind of bad. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Legolas, Master Archer, put a counter on Legolas. Or if you cast a spell that targets a creature you don't control, Legolas deals damage equal to its powered up to 1 target creature. So, you play fight spells or whatever. It's very, very good. You can also, bolt something and then deal 1 something, which is kind of cool also. Kind of a weird card, though, because, this isn't really a card you'd want to build around in Modern or in Historic, and there isn't really a deck this slots into either. So it mostly feels like a Commander Unlimited card. Pretty busto Unlimited, obviously, if you're able to use the fight spells and so on and so forth. So great limited card. Maybe a cool Commander card, but for Historic and Modern, I just don't think it's really good enough. Long list of the Ents.
The salted pork is particularly good.
Flavor win for green. It's our flavor winner. 1 green saga. Chapters 1 through 6. Note a creature type that has not been noted for long list of the Ents. When you cast your next creature spell of that type, that creature enters the battlefield with a counter on it. Just a pretty fun card. This card, it does add counters, and it, Walking Ballista is a whatever, and then Arpa Ravager is a whatever. So, sure, maybe, possibly, probably not. Maybe in Historic, a slight chance for constructed, but fun limited card, fun flavor card. It's just cool. And it's important to note you must name a different card, a different creature type, not the same creature type. So, in a tribal deck, if it doesn't work, you need to play a bunch of different creature types, which is also pretty tough too. So, it's just a kind of a fun card. Fun card, fun flavor win. Not every card needs to be the best card of all time, And then Unlimited, this card's great. You just get a few counters here or there. I think it's probably worth it. Lothlorien Lookout, 2 mana for a 1/3. When it ever attacks you, scry. Card seems fine. Obviously, scrying is very important for the green decks. And if you're playing the synergy deck that wants to scry, this is a card for you. Otherwise, not so exciting. Many Partings, 1 green for a Lay of a Land that also makes a food. As we know from Tomb with Aether, Pretty powerful to add on an effect to Land. Obviously going to be phenomenal in limited. In constructed, probably not, because the food doesn't matter that much, but great limited card for sure. Mediadoc Brandybuck. 2 mana for a 2/2. Legendary halfling. Whenever one or more halflings you control attack a player, make a food token. This card's really good. So it probably won't see play in anything but limited. But a bear that makes a food every turn is freaking awesome. Just great. So great draft card. Play Fun Commander card also, if you play like a food deck or something like that. Constructed, probably not, but cool card. Mirkwood Spider is a 1/1 Death Touch for 1. We see this card all the time. Whenever it attacks, a legendary creature you control gets Death Touch on a turn. Not that relevant, but fine. Definitely, a 1/1 Death Touch for 1 is just a good card in limited anyway, so good draft card. Mirror Guardian. 3 mana for a 4/2 Dwarf Soldier. When it dies, the ring tempts you. I mean, mechanically works. Flavor-wise, not that exciting. It's a fine card. I like 4/2s for 3 in limited. They block. They trade up on defense. They punish opponents to miss land drops. Sure. Mushroom Watchdogs. 2 mana for a 2/2. Sack a food, put a counter on this, and gains vigilance. Only as a sorcery. This card's good. 2/2 with a value for your food, which is kind of great. This is one of the major payoffs for the food deck, which is great. Good draft card. Peregrine Took. Sleeper card. 3 mana for a 2/3. Halfling Citizen. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus a food are created instead. So it adds a food to every token you would make. Sack 3 food, draw a card. So we've seen some food token yada 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 cards decks in Modern before. It was like that artifact creature that like makes clues and foods and treasures or whatever. There are a number of cards that do things like that, and this card, sorry. This card produces a lot of material. Academy Manufacturer is the card that does that. And I can definitely see it being part of some sort of deck like that. Also could not, honestly. It's a, again, insanely good card. That's why it's sleeper, though. I think it's a card that could see play. Also great and limited, too. Just like draws cards, 2/3, super awesome. Card sweep. That's our sleeper card for green. Great limited card. Possible constructed card. Pretty cool. Pippin's Bravery. 1 mana for an instant. Sack of food, +4/+4, otherwise +2/+2. Again, a fine combat trick. If you're like the food heavy deck, force a lot, you know, and then there's a floor otherwise, which is fine. So, fine trick in limited for the food deck. Quick Bean Upstart Ent.
Good lord.
This card is an unbelievable beating in limited. 6 mana for a 5/6. When it ETBs, 2 creatures you control get +2/+2 and trample end of turn. So a mini overrun on a huge body, and then you get that trigger whenever any tree folk ETBs, which there aren't a ton of, but this is like, you know, your nuts curve topper limited. Gonna end a lot of games on this card. Super powerful limited card. Slam it. Mythic uncommon and limited. Super great. Radagast the Brown. 4 mana for a 2/5 mythic. Radagast, obviously not the best wizard of all time, but a very fun wizard. Whenever he ETBs or another non-token creature ETBs under your control, look top X cards of your library where X is that creature's mana value. You may reveal a creature card that doesn't share a type with a creature you control from among those cards and put it in your hand. Rest go on the bottom of your library in a random order. So very similar to the other like creature type card where this card wants you to play a bunch of different creature types. It also triggers on itself too. So 4 mana for a 2/5 that draws a card is probably going to be pretty good. In limited, it's phenomenal, obviously. In constructed, probably not. Just doesn't do enough for 4 mana. But cool card. Cool card. Revive the Shire. 2 mana for a sorcery. Return a permanent card from graveyard to your hand. Make a food. These cards are pretty bad. Yeah, is what it is. The Ring Goes South. 4-mana sorcery. The ring tempts you. Good. Then reveal cards on top of your library to reveal X lands, where X is the number of legends you control. Put those lands tapped on the battlefield, rest to the bottom of your library, in any random order. So, kind of cool, honestly. More of a commander card than anything else, obviously, but this is sort of like big ramp spell. But in limited, I could see this card seeing a little play. If you get 2 or 3 lands off it, it's pretty good. It can also help your splashes, but constructed, probably not. A shortcut to what? A shortcut to mushrooms is a 2-mana enchantment. Whenever it ETBs, the ring tempts you. And if your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, put a counter on a creature you control. So kind of like a food payoff card. Sack of food, put a counter, sack of food, put a counter, kind of cool. Don't think it's good enough, honestly, by itself. I guess you like trade off creatures and stuff too. I don't know. The kind of card where it's hard to see how good is that having it in play. This thing's got to produce a lot of counters to be good, so we'll see. We'll have to see how that is, but it could be good, I think. Shower of Arrows. Demand for an instant to kill an artifact, enchantment, or creature flying. Scry 1. Just your average sideboard card with Scry on it. Make it better in the Elf deck. Pretty easy sideboard card. Stew the Coonies. Demand for an instant. Target you control deals damage, equals power to target creature you don't control. Make a food. So just a food bite. It's obviously just a old bite of food. Fine draft card, obviously. I should read the books. I've read the books. Not only have I read the books, all right, I had the freaking audiobooks with all the sound effects and crap too. And that was my go-to on long car rides going to tournaments, all right? You should read the books. You should read the books. I don't remember half the shit, but I did read the books multiple times. Woe's Pathfinder. 2 mana for a 1/1. Mana creature adds a mana of any color. And then 6 mana for another target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample end of turn. I mean, obviously this card's okay. Like, it's a mana door for 2. Not very well sized. The mana sink effect, if it's a slow format, might matter, but tapping it for it kind of stinks. So, like, it's a pretty costly mana sink. This card just seems fine. This is, I think if you're splashing, this card goes up in value, but overall, I'm not, like, super pumped about it. So, I don't know, just an okay limited card. And that's it for green. So, best in show, Lighted Halfling. Sleeper card, Peregrine Took. Trap card, Elven Farsight. Bombin Common, Galadrim Bow, and Flavor Win is the long list of the Ents, and that is green. On to multicolor, where a large multitude of the power and legends lie, which is very, very exciting. So we'll get to that next. But you folks, love you, like, comment, subscribe.